So, Freddy, what brings you here today? I'm sure you have a lot of interesting stories to share.
I do indeed, Ted. And I heard that you are quite the expert in your own right.
Well, I don't like to brag, but I've had my fair share of experience in the field.
Oh, I know. I've been keeping an eye on you for a while now. Your methods are quite interesting, if I do say so myself.
And what about your methods, Freddy? I'm sure they're just as fascinating.
You could say that. I have a unique way of doing things, but I'm sure you already knew that.
Oh, I know all about your methods, Freddy. But I have to say, I don't quite understand them.
It's all about the fear, Ted. The fear that I instill in my victims before I take them out. There's nothing quite like it.
I see. And what about the physical act of killing? Do you enjoy that as well?
It's a means to an end, really. The real fun is in the chase, the stalking, and the psychological games I play with my victims.
I understand completely. It's all about the power, isn't it?
Yes, the power. That feeling of being in control, of having someone's life in your hands. There's nothing quite like it.
But what about the value of human life, Freddy? Do you ever think about that?
Value of human life. That's an interesting concept, Ted. What is the value of a life, really? Is it something that can be quantified or measured?
I believe that every human life has value. Every individual is unique and has the potential to contribute something to the world.
That's a rather optimistic view, Ted. But what about those who have no value? The ones who are a burden on society or who cause harm to others?
I don't believe that anyone is completely without value. Even those who have committed heinous crimes can still potentially contribute something to society, whether it's through rehabilitation or by serving as a warning to others.
You're quite the idealist, Ted. But what about the thrill of taking a life? Doesn't that override any sense of value that you might have for the victim?
I can't deny that there is a certain rush that comes with the act of killing. But for me, it was never just about that. It was about the power, the control, the ability to manipulate and dominate another person.
I can understand that. The feeling of being in control is addictive, and it's not just about the act of killing. It's about the planning, the stalking, the anticipation of the moment.
Exactly. That's why I always put so much effort into the preparation. It was almost like a game, trying to outsmart the police and leave no trace behind.
Ah, the cat and mouse game. I know it well. But let me ask you something, Ted. Do you think that there's a psychological difference between those who kill for pleasure and those who kill for other reasons like revenge or profit?
Absolutely. The motivations behind the act of killing can have a profound impact on the psychology of the killer. Someone who kills for pleasure is likely to have a very different mindset than someone who kills for money or to protect themselves.
That's very astute, Ted. And what about the psychology of serial killers in general? What do you think drives someone to become a serial killer?
It's a complicated question, and there's no easy answer. But I believe that many serial killers have experienced some sort of trauma or abuse in their lives that has led them down this path. It can be a way of exerting control over a situation that they feel they have no control over.
I can see that. For me, it was the trauma of being burned alive that led me down this path. But for others, it could be something as simple as a lack of empathy or a desire for power.
That's a good point, Freddy. The lack of empathy is a common trait among serial killers, as is the need for power and control. But what about the role of nature versus nurture? Do you think that someone can be born with the inclination to become a serial killer?
It's hard to say. There is evidence that some people are born with a predisposition towards violent behavior, but it's not a guarantee that they will become a killer. It's more likely that a combination of genetic and environmental factors leads someone down this path.
Yes, I agree. It's a complex interplay between genetics and environment that can lead to this type of behavior. And there's still so much that we don't know about the origins of serial killing.
That's what makes it so fascinating, isn't it? The mystery, the unknown. The fact that we are driven by forces that we don't fully understand.
It's true. And yet there are those who try to simplify it, to reduce it to a single cause or factor.
Yes, I know what you mean. There are those who believe that violent media or video games are the cause of serial killing, or that it's a result of a lack of faith or moral values.
Those theories have been debunked time and time again. There's no single cause of serial killing, no magic bullet that can explain it all away.
Exactly. It's a complex issue, one that requires a nuanced understanding of human psychology and behavior.
But let me ask you something, Freddy. Do you ever feel remorse for what you've done? Do you ever think about the lives that you've taken?
Remorse? No, I wouldn't say that I feel remorse, but I do think about my victims in a way. They're like old friends, you know? Each one has their own story, their own unique qualities. And in a strange way, I feel like I've given them something, a kind of immortality.
Immortality? I don't think that's a healthy way to look at it, Freddy. These were real people, with families and loved ones who mourned their loss.
Oh, I know that, Ted. But you have to understand, I'm not like other people. I'm something otherworldly. And my actions, while they may seem cruel and heartless to you, are just part of my nature.
I can't condone what you've done, Freddy, but I do understand the complexity of the issue, and I appreciate the opportunity to discuss it with someone who has such a unique perspective.
Likewise, Ted. It's not often that I get to talk to someone who understands the thrill of the chase. But I have a feeling that we'll be seeing each other again soon.
Oh? And why is that?
Let's just say that there are some things that we can teach each other, Ted. Some tricks of the trade that we can
I look forward to it, Freddy. It's always good to learn from the best.